So for today's demo, we are going to take a look at a collateralized loan obligation data set. If that sounds confusing and overwhelming as a subject to you, me too. And that's actually why I picked it for this demo. We are going to be developing a basically a chatbot, but optimizing for question answer pairs. So our input data set will have the question that maybe a customer asks about their collateralized loan. And each data point will also have the context needed from the company in order to correctly answer that question. So, what we are trying to do is optimize our prompt to best answer that question based on the specific context provided and make sure that we are providing concise and accurate answers to the customers. So the first thing we're going to do in order to create a new prompt workflow is click on our prompt icon on the left navigation bar in Snorkel Flow. And we are going to create a new prompt. I'm going to call this prompt CLO answers. And I am going to select my dataset loan questions. Before we get started with prompting, let's take a look at the columns in the input dataset. This dataset contains questions about collateralized loan obligations. It also has the context needed to answer the question and golden answers that subject matter experts have provided. This golden answer is helpful to us because we are going to use it to evaluate the quality of our LLM response as we continue to refine our prompt. The first thing that we're going to do now that we've created our prompt workflow is select a model. In Snorkel Flow, you can use any of the models that you have set up using your FM management. For this demo, I'm going to use OpenAI's GPT-4o model. Next, I am going to specify my prompt. Snorkel Flow allows you to specify both a system and user prompt, or just one or the other. To start, I'm going to just provide a simple system prompt telling the model that it is an expert on collateralized loan obligations and to keep its answers concise. I'm also going to tell it to answer the questions provided in the questions column Now I'm going to run the prompt and we'll take a look at the LLM response. Okay, now that the LLM has run, let's compare the responses with the golden answers. Taking a look at the LLM response for our first question, based on this prompt, it did answer the question correctly. Let's take a look at the next one, though. Here, we are asking it to answer when the ramp-up period ends. Based on the golden answer, we know that the correct response is that the ramp-up period ends on the effective date and that the effective date is earlier than September 15th, 2019. Here, the LLM says that it cannot answer the question based on the given information. But in fact, we know that the context does have the information required for the LLM to answer. So let's try a different prompt to see if we can get a better response for this question. I'm going to edit my user prompt to be a little bit more specific. I'm telling it that its task is to answer the question based on the provided financial document, and I'm telling it exactly which columns have the financial document and the question at hand. I'm also going to get rid of this collateralized loan obligation reference in the system prompt and just say, provide accurate and concise answers. All right, let's run the prompt again and see what happens. Once again, the LLM is responding incorrectly to this prompt. It still doesn't believe that the financial document explicitly states when the ramp-up period ends. Okay, let's try something a little bit different. I want to understand why the LLM is reaching this incorrect answer. So I'm going to provide a much more detailed system prompt. I'm telling it it's an expert on the subject, and I'm saying, given the context information and no prior knowledge, think step by step and answer the query. I'm also providing it information like when answering a question that requires a date, like this question does, make sure to include a day, a month, and a year. And I'm letting it know that the ramp-up period is a synonym for effective date. I'm also giving it some examples of how to answer. Since I already provided the task in the system prompt, I'm going to remove that from the user prompt, and we will run it again. Okay, this prompt seems to have solved our problem in terms of the ramp-up period question. It is identifying that the ramp-up period is the same as the effective date, and that the effective date occurs on September 15th, 2019. Let's check its responses for the other questions. This LLM response is correct. It is going into a little bit too much detail and explanation of thought process for the use case that I want, which is a chatbot for this financial institution that provides users with a very concise answer. However, it's providing all of this rationale because I asked it to think through the problem step by step and to explain its logic. We'll take a look at one more question. Same thing. It's answering correctly, but it's walking through a little bit too much step by step. So let's see if we can simplify the prompt to still provide the correct answers, but not give us so much step-by-step thought process. In this version of the prompt, I've returned to our earlier system prompt, just telling the LLM to respond accurately and concisely. I've moved the task to the user prompt, telling it to answering the following question based on the provided financial document. I've also simplified the requirements just to mention how to answer questions related to dates and providing that ramp up synonym. I've removed the requirement to think step by step and provide that in the answer, because in fact, we don't want to see that in our final LLM response. So let's try running this version. All right, this version looks like, at least for this question, we're getting our golden answers. This question asks, when is the first starting payment date on this deal? And our LLM response is exactly matching our golden answer. Let's check out some of the other questions. Again, matches exactly the golden answer. I'm feeling like this is the best version of the prompt. Once again, exact match. Let's check the fourth. For the fourth question, the LLM response includes all of the components of the golden answer, and it actually broke it down into bullet points, which I think makes it easier for a customer to read through. So I feel like this is the best version of our prompt, but let's move over to comparison view so that we can actually confirm that. So if you click this icon in the upper right corner, we move to comparison view. In this view, you can compare any two versions of your prompt. Right now, we're comparing version 4, which I think is the best version. And let's compare it to version 1 for now. And we'll move back to the first question. Here, we're aiming for the golden answer. Simple sentence, the latest that this deal can go into effect is March 20, 2019. In our most recent version of our prompt, we get that exact answer. In version 1, we got close to that answer, but not as simple as it could have been. In version 2, we did get the right answer. In version 3, it over-explained a little bit. Comparing question 2, in our most recent prompt version, we got exactly the golden answer we were aiming for. In the first version of our prompt for this question, the LLM said that it couldn't answer based on the information given. We knew that was incorrect. Version 2, same problem. And in version 3, we did get an answer, but it wasn't quite the golden answer we were going for. I love comparison view because as I'm developing a prompt to really optimize for my desired output, I try a lot of different versions, and it can be hard to remember which one produced the best outputs. Comparison view makes it really easy to look back at the previous prompt versions you've tried and assess which one you like best. Here, it's pretty clear we like version 4 best. So I'm actually going to star it as my favorite. And I might even change the name. I'm going to call it best version. And I might want to remember that version 3 was a little bit too verbose. And that version 2 provided incorrect answers, as did version 1. This is where we'll end our demo today. But if I was continuing on to develop this prompt to be deployed in an enterprise setting, the next step that I would likely take is to send this data over to be annotated by my subject matter experts. I can do that directly from the prompt page by creating a new annotation batch using the button in the top right corner next to our settings icon. This makes it very easy to request subject matter expert feedback directly from the prompt page. And once your subject matter experts have provided that feedback and committed it as ground truth, you'll actually be able to see it on the prompt page in the right-hand panel. Again, we'll save this functionality for our next demo.